Hey everybody, Pastor Jeff here from Christ Church in South Philly. This weekend I heard about another nationally known leader who has had a moral failing and is no longer qualified for pastoral leadership. And when you hear stories like this, they just rip your heart out. You think about his family, you think about his friends, you think about his church. But also, I think we should think about ourselves. When we hear about a Christian falling, our response should never be to stand in judgment over them, but instead have some healthy introspection about what should I be on guard against myself. 1 Corinthians chapter 10, verse 12 through 13 tells us, "Therefore let anyone who thinks that he stands take heed lest he fall. No temptation has overcome you that's not common to man. God is faithful, and he will not let you be tempted beyond your ability. But with the temptation, he will also provide the way of escape, that you may be able to endure it." No temptation has overcome anyone that is not common to us as well. And so we should never stand in judgment over anyone, but instead pay attention and be on guard ourselves. But not be on guard in that we're scared and we're worried about things. No, this promises us here that God is always present. He is with us. Yes, temptation is real, but temptation is never more powerful than him, and he always gives a way of escape. And so something that we should do as we see people fall is we should look at, what were the escape hatches that they missed? What were the exits on the road to disaster that they decided not to take? I think we should look at that not so that we can judge them, but so that we can learn for themselves. And if you do, I think there's just a common pattern. There's a common pattern that we see in leaders who fall. One, they usually spend a lot more time on what they're presenting than on what they're practicing. They spend a lot more time on what they're presenting to others than what they're practicing themselves. They look good on the outside, but you start to hear about what's going on in their life, and it's like, they were not having time with God. They were teaching about how to have time with God, but they weren't reading the Bible themselves. They did not have a strong prayer life. They didn't have a lot of fellowship. They weren't known by others. They didn't have a soft conscience towards sin. And so when you look, there's just a common pattern of not relating with God and, quite frankly, not relating well with others. Maybe they had a lot of people who were friendly with them, but they had very few friends who knew them. And so they could talk the talk, but they weren't walking the walk. And I think we always need to watch out for that. Whenever there is a distinction between what we profess versus what we practice, we are in dangerous ground. And so never let there be a gap there. No, what you want to see others do, what you learn and benefit from as you hear from others or as you share with others, make sure that you are practicing yourself. May what you talk about also be what you do. The second thing that I think we see leaders who fall do is they think, I can handle this, instead of, I should flee from this. They think, I can handle this, instead of, I should flee from this. They see how close they can get to the line without crossing over, instead of thinking, how far away can I get from sin and how close can I get to Jesus? Whenever we think that we can handle something, we're in dangerous places. God doesn't want us to go through life trying to handle things. He wants us to go through life holding on to him. Proverbs tells us that the man who tries to carry coals against his chest will eventually catch on flame. You cannot be close to sin without falling into sin. And so God just wants to see how close to the line that we can get, how far we can push things. No, he wants us to pursue him. He wants us to get as close to him as we can and to pursue holiness. And so friends, we have to understand failure is not beyond any of us, but can be avoided by each of us by continuing to pursue Christ. And so my encouragement, brothers and sisters, is to press on to him. To press on to him. Make sure that what you profess is also what you practice. And make sure that you don't try to handle things, but you try to hold on to Christ. If we do those things, then you know what? By God's grace, we'll see each other at the finish line.